I'm at the beautiful CFB Dundurn, Saskatchewan, and no, I'm not being facetious. I love northern Saskatchewan. I think it's a beautiful part of our country. And if you're wondering why I'm at the Armed Forces Base, well, there's this ride taking place across Canada. It's hosted by the military police, but it's filled with riders from right across Canada that just want to raise money to support children who have visual impairments. So whether they are fully blind or they just need some assistance with seeing, the military police motorcycle relay ride for blind children is what we're partaking in right now.
You're watching Ride Like a Local with Belt Drive Betty. Voted as Canada's most rider-friendly community of the 2016 riding season is Port Alberni, British Columbia, home to one of the longest-running toy runs in Canada, the Port Alberni Toy Run. Bordered on the east by the Beaufort Mountains and on the west by the Pacific Ocean, the Vancouver Island Riders' Paradise, Port Alberni, is Canada's most rider-friendly community. Visit www.portalberni.ca to find out more.
So Craig, tell me a little bit about what it means to you to be a national rider with this particular ride, and knowing that the military police are the ones that spearhead this every year.
This is my 5th year being involved with this particular ride. The first year I was president of Kamloops Legion when they stopped in and we hosted them for dinner. And being a bike rider myself, I said, I'm going to make sure these guys get out of town tomorrow morning. So I jumped on my bike and rode out with them from Kamloops to Cache Creek. They were going east to west that year. The next year I said, no, I'm going to do the BC Loop. And for the last 3 years, I've done the BC Loop with them, which starts in Victoria, goes to Jasper, drops the national riders off in Jasper, and then ends up back in Victoria. Last year, after doing the BC Loop, I said, I want to do the national loop. And I planned on doing it in the 10th anniversary, which is 2018. And we started talking about the 10th anniversary a couple of years ago, actually. But I wanted to go this year just to see what it's all about and to see what along the way needs work on or what we have that we have to deal with so that we can bring other riders in and have them totally prepared for what's happening. Next year my wife will be joining us, and this is kind of a dry run just to see what we're going to meet along the way outside of the BC Loop. As far as challenges, as far as what we have as a couple. So that's why I'm on the national ride this year. I'm an avid biker. I've been riding bike for many years. Started riding bike as a mounted policeman, and bought my own bike many years ago and been riding ever since. And as soon as I got involved with the military police ride, and I do have links to the military police. I was a military policeman before I changed over to become a mounted policeman. It felt right. It was the camaraderie and what everyone was doing and the cause for which we were doing. It just felt right, and I've been involved ever since, and I enjoy every minute of it. The Military Police Fund for Blind Children is the oldest and only recognized charity of the Canadian Forces, period. It started back in the late 1950s and has been going ever since. And it is the military police unit of the Canadian Forces that took that on. And they are still doing it today. And so when we're hosted at places like Dundurn, it's the military police unit that hosts us here. It's the military police units all across the country, starting in Esquimalt, going all the way to Gander, Newfoundland, that support this ride in one form or another. If nothing else, it's an escort to the ferry out of Esquimalt, or getting us through Saskatoon from North Battleford to here safely, and showing us the way, or throwing an event such as the poker run in Cold Lake to raise funds for the Military Police Fund for Blind Children. And that's what it's all about.
And this is it, folks. You know, imagine, if you will, you're a Canadian parent and your child has visual challenges. They're not able to see the way you would love them to be. 21 years of age and under, they can apply for funding from the Military Police Fund for Blind Children. That's the beautiful thing about this. You don't have to be veterans. You don't have to be active military. All you need to be is a Canadian citizen with a child that needs some support. They'll send you to space camp. They will help with all kinds of visual supports. This is what this ride is all about, is helping Canadian children, not children from other countries, although they may be worthy. This is about paying it forward in our own backyard.
Absolutely. And again, just to reiterate, the fund may be military police sponsored, but any Canadian visually impaired child under the age of 21 years is eligible for funds from this fund.
So, Craig, you and I have gotten to know each other a little bit this afternoon. We've spent a few hours together between the mess hall and, you know, having a couple of adult beverages. And I'm a member of the Army, Navy, Air Force Veterans Club, and he's a Legion member. So I think there's a little bit of a challenge that needs to get thrown out, because I'm also happen to be Cav, and so are you.
I am Cav. I'm 3rd Cav, Hill 70 out of Kamloops. In Kamloops, there is no rivalry between the Annabets and the Legion. We work together as required. Yes, we have our separate clubhouses, but we work together for the veterans of this country. And I challenge all Legion riders, Annabets, CAV members, any CAV unit, and Blue Knights. I also belong to the Blue Knights as well. And I challenge any of the people in those groups that ride motorcycle, that want to have fun and want to be part of this wonderful fundraising event for the most worthy cause, to join us. And all you have to do is look up on National Relay Ride.
It's the Military Police National Motorcycle Relay Ride for Blind Children. And if you look, there it is, nationalmotorcyclerelay.ca. That's the website address. So let's make sure. And I'm going to throw out the challenge because I happen to know Lamont French, who is part of this. He's a member of UN NATO.
He is. Yes, he is.
So there, UN NATO, Canadian Army Veterans Motorcycle Units, Blue Knights. I think I'm going to throw out a challenge there to all my buddies in the Red Knights, because I think you first responders should be part of this too.
Yeah, let's include White Knights as well then.
Well, exactly. So EMS, fire, police, Red Knights, Blue Knights, White Knights, all you guys, and heck, even you Green Knights, we want to see you. If we can't see you physically here, we want to see you donating on that website. Because you know what, folks? These children need your help. They deserve your help. And I don't know. What do you think? $50. I want to see $50 from every CAV member. What do you think?
What a challenge. Come on, Cav, step up. Hill 70, I know you'll come up.
Okay, so Hill 70 against Friesenberg and Rome and Agira and Con. I mean, how many units in CAV are there? There's 3 regional units, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd CAV. There's about 1,400 members. 1,400 members times $50.
That goes a long, long way to helping visually impaired children.
There you go, folks. The challenge is on. And you know what? I think I actually have my $50 right here. There you go.
There we are. Come on, take the challenge, guys. Thanks, Renee.
You're welcome. I'm at beautiful CFB Dundurn, Saskatchewan. And I'm being joined right now by 2 of the riders that are taking part in the Military Police National Motorcycle Relay Ride for Blind Children. Now, the military police pretty much just host this event. And when I say they host it, they organize it, they do all kinds of things, and then on top of it all, they supply a whole ton of the supports along the way, correct?
That's correct. I was really impressed with the amount of planning that has gone into this and the fact that our costs were reduced. So when we showed up at some of the bases, of course, we had to pay for the accommodation, but it was a little less than what would normally be charged, which was good because when you look at the impact of an overall ride, there's a lot of money that's put out by us as individuals. So this was a wonderful thing and well received. And the meals that we got were great. We were supported both at the military base and at a lot of the legions along the way. So it's something that's really important to the rider.
So Dale and Cathy were just explaining a little bit about some of the expenses that a rider undertakes when they go on this ride. So you've got the fundraising that you need to do to help the children. Of course, fundraising is what this ride is all about. Because computers are expensive. Sending these kids to space camp is expensive. And the whole goal of the military police fund for blind children is to help these children gain an edge, gain an advantage in life by giving them the tools that they would not otherwise have, correct?
That's right. A lot of kids, when they find themselves in these types of situations where they have to work harder to be part of the overall childhood and growing up. This fund is providing them with tools that will enable them to do that. So they gain confidence, they gain some self-esteem, and they gain the tools necessary to really interact with their peer groups in all situations, not just at school, but when they go to church, in their communities in general.
So I'm going to ask you a question, Cathy. What is your favorite part about being on this ride with all of these gentlemen around you? What is it about being with these people that is a rewarding experience for you?
I think meeting new people, having new experiences, going on this long a ride. This is our first long ride that we've done. So, and that's part of the reason why we're only going as far as Winnipeg, because I was afraid that maybe we wouldn't be able to do it. But it's been super. The ride has been broken down so that we're not on the bikes for, really long periods of time. We get lots of breaks, and I just like the people and the scenery that I haven't seen a lot of Saskatchewan, and I'll enjoy across Canada, I'm sure.
I want to talk a little bit about your motivation to help children.
Well, I'm a retired CIC officer, so Cadet Instructor Cadre, that's what it stands for. So I've been working with cadets and youth from the age of 12 to 19 for about 19 years. And it's a citizenship thing with me. It's something that I can do. I can give back. I have knowledge, I have skills, I have ability, and I can give back. And when I thought of this ride, and I saw it for the first time on the internet last year, and I really wanted to get involved last year but couldn't. So I made an effort this year to do that, and I'm giving back to a group of people that are somewhat disenfranchised. And I think that I have those skills, and I have that ability, and I have
The Spark Business Incubator is located in 214 Place and run by Community Futures Grand Prairie and Region. It can provide a new or expanding business with the supports to be successful. www.gpsparkincubator.ca. Community Futures Grand Prairie and Region can assist small business with financing, training, and advisory services. We're here to help small business in rural Alberta.
We're in Dundurn, Saskatchewan, and I'm being joined by one of the national riders with the Military Police National Motorcycle Relay Ride for Blind Children, and his name is Joe. Joe, tell me why you're involved with this ride.
Well, I was going to have a motorcycle ride to Alaska, and my wife wasn't very happy about, at my age, going to Alaska by myself. And somebody said, how about joining us? We're going across Canada for the military police blind charity ride. And I said, sounds good.
And now, when you're riding with these guys, it's kind of interesting because the military police really do a bang-up job of hosting this event, from, the Legion supporting people at meals, but the MPs on bases, giving you places to stay at a reduced rate and escorting you from city to city. How does that feel?
Feels great. On the second ride, we had a police escort, 4 motorcycle police for 2 days all through Alberta. They stayed at Cold Lake with us. We also had a police escort through Vancouver. We had a police escort in Ontario and in Newfoundland. It's great.
It is great, isn't it, when you can just, ride, be and just relax because you've got that support, right?
Oh, great. I mean, it's really nice, to come up to a red light and see all the cars stopped and you just whistling through.
That is a good feeling, isn't it? More importantly, though, this ride is about helping children, and Canadian children. They don't have to be military. They don't have to be veterans' children. They don't have to be military police children. They just need to be Canadian and 21 years of age or younger to qualify for help. What does it mean to you as a rider to know that you've touched the lives of potentially hundreds of children by your participation in this ride?
Well, on this particular ride, we had 3 young boys, well, they're young men now, that went down to the space camp in Alabama. The way they explain it, for the first time, they see somebody that is the same as themselves. And it gives them a lot of confidence and really gets them on the right track, the right footing. And then we saw a young lady that needed a computer for her studies. She's in university, and it was the computer and everything that we provided that enabled her to go to university.
And that feels good to help a child just get that leg up. You know, and that's all these kids want is a leg up so that they can, if you will, compete on a level playing field with children who are sighted, who have that advantage of being able to take things in visually.
Yes, and 2 years ago, they were expanding the outpatients department in the Children's Hospital in Eastern Ontario, and the fund provided $100,000 towards that expansion.
You see, folks, the military police relay ride for blind children is about helping children. And if you are blessed to be able to see clearly without support, then maybe think of your advantage and take up our challenge and reach into your pocket and send $50 into the fund through the website. And that's the National Motorcycle Relay.ca. Okay? $50. That's our challenge to you. Or become a national rider next year and join the people on the military police National Motorcycle Relay Ride for Blind Children and help our children in our own backyard. That's kind of special, isn't it?
Sure is. And if a person is going to ride their motorcycle, and there's no better way to see Canada than on the back of a motorcycle. And it's an economical way of doing it. You're not paying top dollar every night in a hotel or in a restaurant, and things are provided. But it does cost money. All expenses come out of for ferry, some food,
Your
fuel, and then every so often something goes wrong with a motorcycle. And this time I was riding from Ontario to Victoria to take part, and went down through Wyoming, Montana, saw all the sights and everything. Got to Victoria, decided we were going to go to the Parliament buildings for the grand kickoff, and my battery went.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine if it had happened in Montana?
That would have been horrible, but what an experience.
Yeah, $230 later, but it's fun. This is my second ride from coast to coast, and I've participated in just about every part of it. Last year it was from Ontario to Newfoundland. It's a great way, and you meet the nicest people.
What's one word of advice you have for all those riders watching the show? What would you tell them about the National Motorcycle Relay Ride and why they should get involved?
I think there's no better way of seeing the country, contributing to a very good cause, and meeting a lot of very nice people. If you're going to ride, might as well do it.
There you are, folks. As our friend Joe says, just do it.
Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, home to the Cabot Trail and the Cape Breton Bike Rally. With some of the most magnificent riding and the friendliest of people one can find anywhere, Cape Breton is the runner-up community in Canada's most rider-friendly community contest. Visit CapeBretonBikeRally.com to find out why.
We're at the Military Police Relay Ride, and we're in Dundurn, Saskatchewan on the Armed Forces base here. I'm being joined right now by one of the national riders, Paul. He's from Sudbury, Ontario. And what brought you on this ride?
It's actually bucket list material. I first heard about this ride when I was still working in Toronto, and it just was an opportunity to ride across the country, which I've always wanted to do, and it just came time this year to do it. It's been about 5 years since I first heard of it, and then I've just been wanting to do it ever since, and this year my wife pushed me out the door, and here I am.
Now, you came to BC to start the event, but you came via Sturgis, you said?
Yes, we basically had two choices. We were either going to go through Canada and then retrace our steps with the ride, or we could go through the States and see some different scenes. So we went through Sturgis, Mount Rushmore. We saw everything through the Badlands, Crazy Horse Monument. It was terrific.
Yeah, there's nothing like going through all of those places when there aren't 450 or 500,000 of your closest friends riding.
Exactly, and that's the excuse I always use for not going to Sturgis before this. You either go before or you go after, but you don't go during.
Exactly. So this ride might be bucket list material, but it represents something a lot bigger. What does this ride mean to you on an emotional level?
Well, this is an opportunity not just to see the country, but also to see how the military lives. We're staying at a number of bases. We're also touching base with the Legion, which has a military component as well. But the entire reason for the ride is for the charity that's supported by the military, and it's a charity for blind children. And it's amazing to see. We've had an opportunity to have a couple of the kids that have had their lives touched by this this wonderful charity, and it's hard not to be moved when you're listening to the stories and you're meeting the kids. It's really important work.
It is important work, and it's something that it's wonderful to see the military police. You know, they host this, they take lead on it. They help you get from community to community safely. They make sure that you get put up on barracks when that's what's needed at a reasonable cost. And so the military police really support this thing. They're very much the driving force behind it, but it is actually something that they encourage civilians, veterans, and everybody from every walk to participate in.
And that's the thing. When you first heard about military police rides, it sounded like a lot of fun, but I'm not military police. And I'm not a military police officer. My brother is, and I do have a tie-in from that, which is where I first heard about the ride. But anyone is available to join it. In Trenton, a friend of mine is going to be joining us in Ontario, and he'll be doing the last of the ride, and he's a fireman. So you don't necessarily have to have a military tie or be ex-military in order to enjoy this ride.
And I think that's really important that people understand this. This is a ride that is hosted and sponsored by the military police, but it truly is a rider's ride.
And I think that puts it in very good perspective. It isn't just a matter that they get on the road and we go from point A to point B. The military has bases across the country, and the people on those bases are actually riders themselves. So the military police have touched on these people and asked them to find the best roads in their area. And they've stitched them together in order to hop from base to base and cross the country, not just as fast as you can on a highway, but rather to see some of the country and see some of the spots that if you're not familiar with, you may not necessarily have actually taken in. It's a great way to see the country.
That's all our time for this week, folks. Next week, we're going to speak with Matt, Don, and Ray, all national riders in the National Military Police Motorcycle Relay Ride for Blind Children.